We are going to get started today in Sukhasana, easy pose. So just crossing your legs, doesn't matter which one's in front. If you'd like to sit on a prop, bring in your blanket, blocks, whatever feels good to you. Close your eyes, lift your shoulders up by your ears and roll them onto your back. Let's do that 2 more times. Lift your shoulders up by your ears and roll them onto your back. Lifting up towards your ears and rolling onto your back. Let your arms hang heavy as if there's weights attached to your elbows. Rest your palms on your thighs, palms down for grounding, palms up to receive. And start to pay attention to your breath. Try to breathe in and out of your nose throughout this practice. If there's ever a time where it becomes difficult to breathe through your nose, it's okay if you don't. Just try. And start breathing all the way down into your belly. We're going to practice some Durga Pranayama, or 3-part breath. So you're welcome to keep your eyes closed and just follow the guidance of my voice if that's comfortable for you. Bring your right hand to your lower belly and your left hand to your chest. As you inhale, send your air and energy down to that right hand. Feel your belly inflate, your ribs expand outward, and your chest rise. As you exhale, release from the top down, your chest lowers, your ribs draw back in, and your belly deflates. Inhale, belly inflates, ribs expand, chest rises. Exhale, release. We'll practice this a few more times. See if you can move with your own breath and allow this movement to come from your breath. So not a push and pull of your abdominal muscles. See if your breath and energy can create this movement. So just as you would feel a blast from the bottom up, inhale deeply. And exhale fully. Take one more round just like this. Now come back to your natural breath. You may find that your breath already wants to be a little deeper than even 5 minutes ago. As we move forward with this practice, I invite you to practice a balanced breath, or if you need a little more calming, a little more grounding today, try extending your exhale. Just whatever you do, try not to extend your inhale. When it comes to energy exchange, you always want to give back at least as much as you take in. So you can rest your hands back on your thighs if you'd like, or you can keep them on your heart and on your belly. Notice your state of mind as we're getting started. Try setting aside any thoughts and feelings that you don't need for this next hour or so. If you'd like to set an intention, feel free to do so. Maybe there's something resonating with you. Maybe there's someone you'd like to extend your energy towards. Maybe there's a thought, feeling, a word, a phrase, anything that's speaking to you today. Take 2 more rounds of breath here. When you come to your 3rd inhale, flutter your eyes open. Stretch your arms out and up. And with your exhale, bring your palms together. Guide your hands down to your heart. And keeping your palms together. Inhale, lift your hands up towards the ceiling. Bring your elbows towards each other. They don't have to touch. Exhale, open your arms out wide. Float them away. And back down next to your hips. Inhale, reverse direction. Lift your arms. Sit tall. Exhale, bring your palms together and down to your heart. So syncing your movement with your breath. Allow your breath to come first. Movement follows. So keep that steady pace. Allow your breath to be your rhythm of this practice. We'll take one more rotation through, one more full time in and out. And keep your hands resting beside you. Alright, from here we're going to start to bring a little movement to your spine. And we'll do a little seated cow-cat. And then inhale, reach your heart forward. Turn your gaze upwards. Bring your shoulder blades towards each other. Breathe here for a moment. Notice if you're sinking into your lower back, try to find length in your spine and try to keep your core engaged. So even though you're back bending, draw your navel in towards your spine to keep those muscles tight and active. With your next exhale, round your back, coming into seated cat. Brace yourself on your knees. Tuck your chin towards your chest, gaze down, lean backwards. Really separate those shoulder blades. So still keeping your core engaged here, still breathing deeply into your belly. And let's try moving with your breath. Inhale, heart forward and up, arching your back in seated cow. Exhale, rounding your back, separate those shoulder blades, seated cat. Inhaling forward. And exhale back. Remember, your breath is your own rhythm. You don't need to move just because I'm giving the next cue. Don't short yourself. Don't cheat yourself. Move with your own breath. Two more breaths here. When you've completed your second breath, come back to a neutral spine. And relax, sit tall. Relax your shoulders down your back. Notice your heart rate. Sometimes once we start to move in our practice, your heart rate gets a little faster, your breathing gets faster, breathing gets heavier. So come back to those full belly breaths, a nice calm, even pace breath. And then if you're not already facing the front of your mat, go ahead and do so. Stretch your legs out long. We're going to give the backs of the legs a little bit more chance to warm up from seated. So you can rest your hands on your mat or whatever you're using for blocks today. You want your spine to be tall as if you're leaning back against a wall. And point and flex your toes. You can do one at a time, go back and forth. You can do the same thing with both feet. And then start to draw circles, rotating your ankles, and the other direction. And coming to stillness. Widen your feet towards the edges of your mat. Bring your right foot into your left thigh and turn your belly button towards your left knee. So you're squaring up towards this left leg. Inhale, stretch your arms up, sit tall. Exhale, lean forward, relax your arms down. Use them for support here. So you want to make sure your shoulders are even, your left shoulder doesn't dip down, so your chest is facing downward towards the floor, not sideways. Keep looking towards your toes. You don't want to crunch your neck here. And then slowly, as you're ready, walk your hands forward a little bit at a time. Keep your left toes flexed, a soft bend in your knee. If you're really tight today, maybe a more generous bend, that's all right too. And continue to breathe. When you come to your next inhale, walk your hands back towards your body. Support yourself as you lift your torso back upright. Neutral spine, stretch that right leg out. Let's go to the other side. So bring the left foot in, square up towards your right leg. Inhale, sit tall, reach tall. Exhale, lean forward, release your arms. Check out your shoulders, make sure they're squared. Toes are flexed, knees soft, and then slowly walk your hands away from you, finding a comfortable stretch. Remember that as you're warming up, your body may not be as available to get into these poses the same way that they do when you practice them towards the end of your practice. When you come to your next inhale, walk your hands towards your body, lift your torso upright. Untwist, stretch that left leg out. Then keeping your feet as wide as your mat. You're going to inhale, sit tall with a straight spine. Exhale, start to lean forward. Make sure you're not puffing your chest out and you're not dropping your head down. Walk your hands down your legs towards your ankles. If they don't come anywhere near touching, that's all right. Maybe your hands are back here, that's okay. Just use your arms for support as you move forward with a long spine. So no rounding, no crunching, no hunching. Just notice where that edge is. You want to feel some sensation in the backs of your legs, especially through your hamstrings. You want to feel some sensation in your lower back. Let's take another deep inhale here. When you come to your exhale, allow your back to round, but again, no crunching, no hunching. So it's a gentle rounding of your back. Maybe you bring your hands more towards center. See if you can fold a little bit lower. Again, just as you're warming up, be gentle on yourself. Don't worry about if you can normally go deeper into this fold. Two more breaths here, in through your nose and out through your nose. Inhale, taking in fresh air, energy, prana. Exhale, letting go, releasing of all the stale air, energy, and prana. With an inhale, walk your hands back towards your body, lift upright. Now let's bring the feet together. Reach your hands behind you onto the floor or blocks. And reach your heart up towards the ceiling. So a little bit of a back bend, a little bit of a chest opener. If you prefer a little extra support, you can bend your knees here. And with your next inhale, come back upright. Alright, so we're going to go into a reverse tabletop. Bend your knees. And your toes stay pointed forward, feet are parallel. You want your knees lined up with your hip joints. So think of making 11s out of your femurs. So not too wide with the knees, not too narrow. I like to point my fingertips forward. If it doesn't feel good in your wrists, adjust. Using an inhale, lift your hips up off the floor. See if you can bring your hips in line with your knees and your shoulders. Let your head release back. Don't strain your neck. And with your next exhale, go ahead and release your hips down. Nice and slow. Good. So from here, you're going to cross your legs, walk your hands forward, and uncross your legs, or any way that you would like to get into your tabletop. Very brief tabletop here, just long enough to set up your stable base. You're going to bring those knees back under the hips, wrist under shoulders. Inhale, stretch your right foot behind you. Lift your heel up in line with your hip. Notice if your belly is drooping down. Try not to hammock your belly here. So navel towards your spine. Another big breath in. Full breath out. Inhale, really press through your heel. Exhale, step your foot on the outside of your right hand. So your wrists stay under your shoulders. We're going to start to stretch out the left hip flexor. So if you feel a lot of sensation, great, stay here. If you prefer more sensation, scoot that left knee back. If having your hands on the floor is really making this uncomfortable, elevate your torso. Use your blocks, books, whatever props you're using today. Make this more comfortable for you. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. It doesn't matter what you did last time you stepped on your mat. Honor each practice on its own. So keeping your spine long. Don't let your head drop. Don't hunch just so you can reach the ground. Bring the ground closer if needed. Point through your back toes. Excellent. One more breath here. You're going to bring that right knee back to tabletop. Go ahead and bring your right hip and shoulder together and then away from each other. It's a little sassy cat, swinging your hips and shoulders in the same direction. If there's any other movement that feels good, it is your practice. Do what makes you feel good. And when you're ready, coming back to stillness and getting ready for that other side. Setting up in your sturdy base, your nice strong tabletop. Inhale, stretch your left leg back this time, toes down, reach through your heel. Check out your belly, make sure it's not hammocking. Make sure there's still space between your shoulder blades, you're not sinking into them. Another inhale here. Exhale, big step forward on the outside of your left hand. Remember those wrists stay under your shoulders. Looking for sensation in this right hip flexor. Same options as before. Scoot it forward, scoot it back. Bring your blocks over. Breathe. Tune back into that breath. Notice if your pace is still balanced, equal inhales to equal exhales. One more here. And you're going to take a big step back with that left leg, coming into your tabletop, just long enough to bring your big toes together. Bring your knees towards the edges of your mat. Reach your forehead towards the floor and sit back towards your heels. So try to keep your arms active here. When you do this, it's going to feel like you're pressing the mat away from your body. Forearms and elbows are lifted up off the mat. Two more breaths in your child's pose. Now the child's pose is a great place to return to anytime you'd like to, for any reason you'd like to. It's a great place to rest, relax, stretch, reconnect with your intention, your breath, your mat. It's a great place to just be. Using an inhale, find your way back to your tabletop. And we'll prepare for our first downward facing dog. So walk your hands forward about 6 inches. Tuck your toes underneath, lift your knees, push your hips towards the wall behind you. So notice how my knees are still bent. I'm working on lengthening my spine by pushing into my hands. Now from here, I'm going to straighten my right leg, keeping that left knee bent, bending it a little more generously. Then I'm going to swap sides, so straightening out my left leg, bending my right. So it's called walking your dog or pedaling it out. Whatever you want to call it, it's a great way to start to warm up your toes, ankles, knees, calves, hamstrings, most of your lower body. So go ahead and find some movement here. Some other variations are to come back to those bent knees, bend them more generously, straighten them back out, and bend, and straighten. Or even lifting and lowering your heels. So if your legs don't straighten today, that's fine. Don't worry about it. It's not necessary. So take a few more breaths of movement, whatever feels good to you. Then come back to stillness. From here, inhale, look forward, shift forward to a very brief plank. Now let's come back down to tabletop. Woo! Go ahead and sit back onto your feet. We're going to give the wrists some swirls one way and the other way. Anything that feels good here, and give those wrists some love. And then coming back to your tabletop. And inhale, stretch that left leg back behind you. Exhale, draw your knee in towards your belly. You're going to step in between your hands this time. And again, we're going to look for some sensation of stretch in this right hip. You can use your blocks to frame your front foot. You want to lift your torso upright. So check in that your ankle and your knee are in alignment. You don't want your knee forward. If your knee comes back a little bit, that's okay. You also want to make sure you're not falling inward or outward. So for me, I personally like to scoot my back leg back a little bit more, get more sensation through this right hip. So keeping your chest open here. So from our supported lunge, we're going to come into a half split, which is not as scary as it sounds. If you've never done it before, I definitely recommend having some sort of support here. You're going to back your right hip up above your right knee and straighten out your left leg. Lift your toes up. So if you want to practice this a little more gently on your body, bring your torso upright. Make sure you're not locking out your knee. If you have more flexibility, if you're more warmed up, if you just want to take it deeper, you can bring your hands or your blocks in line with your left knee and hinge forward from your hips, keeping your spine long. So keep looking at your toes. Don't look back towards your belly. One more big breath in, and a full breath out. With an inhale, walk your hands to frame your front foot, bend back into that left knee, toes down. Woo! Notice how that feels in this hip flexor again. Coming forward, you may find a little bit more openness. So from here, we're going to inhale, Stretch your leg back. Exhale, bend back into your knee. Inhale, come back to your half split. Exhale, come forward, low lunge. Inhale, half split. Exhale, forward. We'll do this a couple more times. You can play with different hand positions. Your hands are going to help keep you stable, keep you balanced as you move back and forth. And take one more through, and next time you come forward to your low lunge, hang tight. And here, tuck your toes, lift your knee, coming up into a high lunge. We'll take a little twist here. So if you do prefer to stay down on your knee, that's totally fine. And if you'd like to build a little bit more strength in that back leg, lift it on up. Plant your right hand on the inside of your left foot. Inhale, open your chest to the left. Stretch that left arm up towards the ceiling, or bring your hand to your hip and think about rotating your shoulder up towards the ceiling. Your gaze can be upward, it can be sideways, or for the most stability, you can gaze down towards the floor. Take another inhale here. Exhale, float your left hand back down to the floor. Step your left foot back. Return to your downward facing dog. Take a moment to just scan your body, noticing where you feel sensations, where you don't. Maybe areas that may feel a little different on each side. You might feel a little lopsided. And then with an inhale, gaze forward, shift forward to that plank, holding for 3 breaths this time. Remember, coming to your knees is always an option. And when you've completed that 3rd breath, come back to your tabletop. We'll get ready to do all that fun stuff on the other side. So when you're ready, inhale, stretch your left leg back. Exhale, bring your knee towards your belly. Step your foot in between your hands. That's the same side we just did. We're going to go to the other side. Inhale, stretch your right leg back. Exhale, bring your knee forward. Step it on in between. And coming into your low lunge. So again, you're looking for sensation in this left hip flexor this time. Lift your torso up. Keep your chest open, broad collarbones. And adjust your back knee as needed. Alright, getting ready for that half split on the other side. Bring your hands down to the floor for support. You're going to start to straighten out your right leg. Shift your hips back, so left hip above the left knee. Pick up those right toes. Keep looking at those toes. And again, you can come upright if you're easing into it today. Or if you're feeling ready for it, go ahead and hinge forward. And starting to move with your breath. With your exhale, walk your hands forward, plant your foot, come back into that low lunge. Inhale, half split. And exhale, come forward. And moving with your own breath. Remember, your breath is your rhythm. You can change the placement of your hands to help support you where you're practicing today. Remember, all those options from the first side are still available to you on the second. We'll take a couple more rounds here. And the next time you come into your lunge, stay here. You're going to tuck your left toes under. Option to lift up your knee coming into your runner's lunge. Plant the left hand down. Inhale, stretch your right arm up towards the ceiling. Or hand to your hip and point your elbow. Remember, your gaze can be upwards, sideways, or down. Another big breath in. Full breath out. Swoop your hand back down to the floor. Big step back. Downward facing dog. With your next inhale, gaze forward. Take baby steps up to the front of your mat. Walking your feet between your hands. Exhale here, release, and then inhale, slowly roll your spine, making your way up to standing. Exhale, relax, Tadasana, mountain pose. So your shoulders roll onto your back. Your big toes are together. There's a little space between your heels. You're one big tall line of energy. So from here, you're going to step back with your right foot about 3.5 feet or so and bend into your left knee. You want to keep your hips facing forward, so if they start to turn to the side, widen your stance, create more space between the width of your feet. If you have more openness and you're ready to step back a little further, go for it. Your back foot is turned at an angle, about 45 degrees depending on how your ankle feels. And from here, inhale, stretch your arms overhead, relax your shoulders. Take a deep breath in, exhale, cactus arms, so bending your elbows to 90 degrees. Keep your chest open, but try not to arch your back. Navel towards your spine, shoulder blades snuggle together. With your inhale, straighten your arms, straighten that left leg, reach, reach, reach. Exhale, bend your knee, bend your arms. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to bend. And a few more times. And next time you come to your warrior one with cactus arms, stay put. Beautiful. Release your hands to your hips. Notice if they start to rotate. Draw that right hip forward, left hip back. Allow your shoulders to stay aligned with your hips. I'm going to take a pyramid pose here. So straighten out that left leg. Hips are still forward. Blocks are available if you would like that. Blocks move around a lot. Inhale here, lengthen your spine. Exhale, hinge forward halfway so your torso is parallel with the floor. Check in with your hips. Draw that left hip back, right hip forward. Keep them squared. You're going to make sure your toes on your front foot are all firmly gripping into the floor. Sometimes they want to pop up. Don't let that happen. And from here, you can use more core strength, holding your torso halfway. You can bring your hands to your blocks for support, using whatever height you prefer. Or you can go for a deeper stretch, reaching your nose towards your shin. One more big breath in. And a full breath out. Bring your hands back to your hips if they're not already there. Inhale, lift up halfway. If you're not already there, exhale here. Inhale, continue to rise. And exhale here. Go ahead and bend into your left knee. Turn your hips and shoulders sideways. Allow your foot to rotate so your ankle's comfortable. You may decide that you want more length in between your feet. That's cool. Getting ready for a warrior two. So just like when you're in your lunge, pay attention to your knee here. Make sure it's not going forward, it's not falling inward or outward. You want a nice, strong, stable base. So building your pose from the ground up. And when you're ready, open your arms out wide. Hands are in line with the shoulders. Not up, not down. Another big breath in and a full breath out. Inhale, straighten out that left leg. Turn your toes sideways, 5-pointed star. From here, you can keep your arms extended, or you can bring your hands to your hips. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, hinge forward halfway, just like you did with your pyramid pose. Bring your torso parallel with the floor. Make sure you don't lock out your knees here, soft bend. Toes are forward or inward slightly. Good. Get a little core work in here while you're stretching. Next inhale, lift back up. Exhale, warrior two to the back. So turning your right toes towards the back, bending into your right knee. Open your arms out wide. Excellent. Getting ready for that warrior one. We're going to swivel the hips and shoulders forward. Rotate your ankle. Atlas, come here, bud. Part of home practice is having assistance sometimes. So hips and shoulders face towards the back. You're still bending into that right knee. And when you're ready, lift your arms up. Warrior one. Exhale, bend your elbows 90 degrees, coming into cactus arms. Inhale, straighten your arms, straighten your legs. Exhale, bending. Moving with your breath. Inhale, find length. Exhale, bend. Follow your own rhythm. And next time you come into your bend, stay here. You're going to bring your hands to your hips. Inhale, straighten out that right leg. Exhale, hinge forward halfway. Ooh, coming into that pyramid pose in the back. Remember to keep those hips squared, right hip back, left hip forward. Option to stay here, use your blocks, or reach a little deeper. One more breath here. And out. Your inhale, lift your torso back up halfway. Exhale here. Inhale, continue to lift. Exhale here. I'm going to turn our hips and shoulders back towards that side wall. Line your feet up. Your stance is a little narrower this time, not quite as long. You're going to notice how different it feels this time as you hinge forward. So take a deep breath in. Exhale, lean forward halfway. So when you have your feet closer together, you are more likely to feel a sensation through your lower back, through your hamstrings, through the backs of your thighs. If you widen your stance, it also feels good to most people. You'll feel more more stretch in your hips. With your next inhale, lift back up. And exhale, relax. Go ahead and come back to the front of your mat. Inhale, stretch your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, half lift. And exhale, fold. Then step back to your downward facing dog. With an inhale, lift your right foot up, three-legged dog. Remember, your hips are even, so don't try to open up to the side. Keep that left heel down on the floor if you can. If you need to lift it or bend your knee, go for it. And then start to walk your hands back towards your left foot. See if you can lift that right foot a little bit higher. Let your gaze come towards your shin. Standing split. With your inhale, walk your hands back out, downward facing dog. And exhale, release your foot down. Go ahead and pedal out, shake your hips. And when you're ready, we're going to go to the other side. Inhale, lift your left foot up. Square up those hips, press through your heel. And when you're ready for that standing split, start to walk your hands towards your foot. See if you can lift that left leg a little bit higher. And walk your hands back out. Release your foot down. Inhale, look forward, shift forward, plank, holding for 5 breaths this time. And once you've completed that 5th breath, go ahead and lower your knees down. Bring your big toes together, walk your knees towards the edges of your mat, and take a child's pose. With your next inhale, walk your hands towards your body, bring your knees together, and do the best you can to sit on your feet or separate your feet and sit in between them. So you want to keep your knees together, try not to let them splay outwards. You can always put a block underneath your sits bones just to help elevate your hips, make this a little more accessible. And from here, I'm going to offer you reclined hero's pose, only if it's comfortable for you, only if it's within your practice. If you're seated up on a block, I'm going to tell you not to go any further at one point. So no matter where you are, if you would like to get a little bit more openness through your quads and hip flexors, try bringing your hands behind you. Keep your chest open and try not to arch your back. So similar to what we did in the beginning of your practice. Now if you're sitting on a block, this is where I recommend not really pushing past. You don't want to cause any injury in your low back. If you do have the want to try something a little deeper, try coming down to your elbows. And you can even try coming all the way down to your back. And then you can place your hands wherever it's comfortable. I like to stretch overhead. ready to come out of this, you can pause the video and stay as long as you'd like. If you're down on your back, I recommend coming up to your elbows first. So taking your time from your elbows up to your hands. And then we're going to fold over your lap. If you're sitting on a prop, move it out of the way, bring your feet together, bring your forehead down, and reach your hands back towards your feet. Bring your hands under your wrist. Come on up to your tabletop. You're going to inhale, stretch your left leg back. Exhale, bring your left knee behind your left wrist. Point your toes to the right. Lower your shin down. You're going to scoot your right foot back, coming into your pigeon pose. So you're going to work towards getting your shin parallel with the front of your mat. If that's not there for you today, you can hug it back towards your right hip as much as you'd like. Just make sure you're not sitting on your calf. If you feel like you're kind of leaning to one side or the other, that one hip is higher than the other, I recommend putting a block or a blanket underneath this left hip. So whatever foot is in front, that's usually the hip that could use a little extra support. Walk your hands back towards your body, open your chest. Now you're welcome to stay here for the next couple breaths, or you can start to bend into your right knee, reach back with your right hand, grab onto your ankle, foot, whatever's accessible. And if you like, you can try hooking your toes into the elbow crease. You're going to use your foot to help pull your shoulder back. And if mermaid's in your practice, you can stretch your left arm up, over, and behind, and go for that bind. If you prefer to just work on stretching out your quad a little bit more, go for it. If you want to practice a balance, but the bind's not really in your practice, you can hook your elbow and extend this left arm forward. Go ahead and release your hand down. If you're bound, go ahead and unbind. Release your right foot down. And now, thanks to a subtle suggestion from my friend Candace, we're going to try out a split, if you would like. So grab your blocks. And coming from your pigeon pose, you're going to start to straighten out your left leg. Allow your hips to lift up off the floor. So maybe today for your splits, you have a lot of support here. So it allows you to go deeper than the half splits that we practiced earlier. You can start here and work on taking away your support. If you would like, you can hover and use your arms to help hold you up. Or if you're feeling ready for it, just come all the way down. Try to keep your front toes flexed, back toes reaching away. You can always play around with your options. You're never committed to just one version of a posture. And when you're ready to come out of it, slowly, gently, bring your foot to the floor so you have support to move any props out from underneath you. And you're going to return to your little lunge that we visited earlier. So slowly allowing this back hip to release, allow this left hamstring to release. And when you're ready, coming back to your tabletop. It may feel good to take a little sassy cat that you did earlier, cow cat, anything else that feels good to you, take your time doing it. Now when you're ready, we're going to inhale, stretch your right foot back. Exhale, bring your right knee behind your right wrist, turn your toes to the left, lower your shin down, and setting up for that pigeon. So this side may feel completely different from the first side, that's alright. do what's comfortable. Do what works for you here. It's okay if you practice different versions on each side. So welcome to stay put, or start to bend into that left leg. Reach back, grab. Any of the arm variations that feel good to you here, whether you bind, extend, barely hold onto your foot. Maybe you even keep your hands on the floor and just practice bending into your knee, because that can provide quite a big stretch for your quad and your hip flexor. When you're ready to release, go ahead and do so. You guys know what's coming next, so again, this may look and feel completely different from the first side. I'm going to start to extend that right leg in front of you. If you'd like to put your support underneath, go for it. And slowly work on straightening out that right leg this time. Stretching the left leg back. Breathing, make sure you're not holding your breath. This side's a little tighter. You can see that I kind of lean to the side, so I'm not seating myself as firmly onto the mat. I do have a little elevation here, so I'd rather try to keep my hips forward than twist to the side just so I can sit down. So think about your alignment. It doesn't really matter how far you go. Consider your alignment first. And then when you're ready, start to bend into your right leg. Put your foot down, move any of your props out of the way. Come back forward into that lunge for a moment. And then coming back to your tabletop, you're going to walk your knees up behind your wrist, sit back, bump your hips to either side, swing your legs around, and we'll come into a few seated postures. So from here, you're going to stretch your legs out long, bend your left knee, step your foot on the outside of your right leg. And from here, you can keep your right leg long, or you can tuck your heel in by your left hip. Sit tall. You can stay right where you are, or you can use an exhale and start to twist to the left. So you can hook your elbow on the outside of your thigh, you can hug your thigh. Your left hand comes behind your spine and it's used for support here. If you feel like you have to lean or hunch in order to touch the floor, use your block, bring the ground a little closer. Doesn't matter if this back arm is straight or bent. If you want, you can try gazing over your left shoulder, bringing the twist up into your neck. Another big breath in. And exhale, untwist. Atlas, come here. You're going to stretch out your right leg, stretch out your left leg, lay down, bud. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Not sure if you can see it or not. So we're going to bend into the right knee, step the right foot on the outside, tuck in the left heel if you'd like. Take a deep breath in, and exhale, turning to the right this time. Another big breath in. Exhale, untwist. And if you have that left leg tucked in, I need this. Stretch it out. Stretch your right leg out. Shake it out. Slap it out. Whatever feels good there. And then to end your practice today, I invite you to take a spot on the wall and elevate your legs. So to get into legs up the wall, you're going to sit with either side, right or left, your shoulder and your hip against the wall, and start to lean back onto your elbows, lift your feet up, and come down to laying on the floor. You can scoot closer to the wall if that feels good. If your hips start to lift up or your knees need to bend generously, scoot away from the wall. You can always put support under your lower back here, a blanket, a towel if you're practicing at home. You want to make this super comfy cozy, and I invite you to spend the next few minutes here. And if you prefer a different variation for your final relaxation posture, go ahead and take it. So relax your toes, feet, ankles. Relax your calves, shins, knees, and thighs. Relax your hips, buttocks, abdomen, and chest. Relax your low back, middle back, your upper back and shoulders. Relax your upper arms, elbows, forearms, your wrists, hands, and fingers. Relax your neck, relax your head. Allow your eyes to close softly and breathe naturally. So as you lie here, notice the quality of your thoughts, the things that bubble up in your mind as you're allowing yourself to rest. What is it that's trying to distract you? So just acknowledge what these things are. Just notice that they're there. Set that information aside for another time. Just notice what's trying to take place during your piece. Don't judge yourself on what you find. Just notice. Breathe in through your nose. And breathe out through your nose. Allow your physical body to become heavier and heavier as you become more relaxed. Allow your mental body to become lighter and lighter as you become more relaxed. Allow your whole being to become relaxed and present. Rest here for a few more moments. As you're ready, start to bring your awareness back to your mat, back to your body. Bring some gentle movements to your physical body, wiggling toes, fingers, rotating wrists, ankles. Maybe rocking your head from side to side, stretching your arms out long. As you're ready, hug your thighs towards your belly. Gently roll over to your side. If you're still against the wall, scoot away from it a little bit. Allow yourself to curl up into the fetal position. As you're ready, gently press yourself up to a comfortable seat. Sitting with a tall spine, relaxed shoulders, soft jaw. Inhale to lift your arms overhead. Exhale, draw your palms together, past your third eye, past your lips, and down to your heart. Inhale, lift the corners of your mouth and smile. Thank yourselves for stepping on your mat today, spending a little extra time, energy, and love on you. Namaste, my friends.